My husband's sister moved in and started calling my house family property. She used my office, she drained my account. When I spoke up, she said, "Stop acting like it's yours." My husband just stayed quiet. So I did too and let the court speak. My name's Patricia. I'm 34, a freelance marketer specializing in digital campaigns for local businesses, ads, social strategies, content that drives traffic and sales. It's not flashy, but I love the strategy behind it. The data, the tweaks that turn clicks into cash. And it pays the bills more than most realize, especially my husband. He dismisses it as side hustle stuff. But that hustle covers our mortgage and then some. He works in security installation, driving out to sites, setting up systems, coming home wiped out but easygoing. He's 36. The steady type I thought balanced my creative side. We met at a networking event, hit it off over shared laughs about bad bosses. Our first few years married were solid in our small house just outside Miami, Florida, 3 bedrooms, a garage, a backyard we barely use. One room was my office, desk, monitors, files stacked neatly. That's my zone, my income engine. Things shifted when his younger sister showed up. She'd been bouncing between bad relationships, needed a spot to reset. He agreed without much discussion, just a couple weeks, he said. She arrived with bags, a pet project attitude, and that vibe of someone planning to stay. It started subtle, borrowing my makeup, shifting my office supplies. Then bolder, using my setup without asking, claiming, "This is family property now." I tried setting lines, but she brushed it off. "Stop acting like it's all yours." My husband? He just nodded along. I held back at first, but as she escalated, ruining gear, costing me clients, tapping into my finances like it was shared, I started plotting. Quietly, the kind of moves that end with consequences she never saw coming, right up to that debt clause in court. If this rings true for you, smash that subscribe button and drop in the comments. What would you do if family crossed that line? Should boundaries mean forgiveness or accountability? Share your take. I've got more stories like this. A week later, Denise wasted no time settling in deeper. She grabbed my foundation from the bathroom shelf, used half the bottle in one go, and left it uncapped on the counter. I noticed the sticky residue when I reached for it before a video call with a potential client pitching a beach resort campaign. The makeup felt gritty, mixed with whatever she'd slathered on earlier. I bit my tongue, figuring it was a one-off slip from someone adjusting to shared space. But then she moved on to my clothes. My favorite sundress, light cotton perfect for Miami's humidity, vanished from the closet. I found it later in the laundry hamper, crumpled with a coffee stain down the front from some late-night outing. She must have worn it to a local bar crawl, judging by the faint smoke scent clinging to the fabric. When I confronted her in the kitchen, she rolled her eyes. "It's just a dress, Patricia. Relax, we're family now." I felt that familiar tightness in my chest, but I kept calm and put it away without another word. Ronald came home that evening from installing alarms at a condo complex, sweat-soaked from the Florida sun. I mentioned the incidents while we ate takeout tacos on the patio, hoping he'd back me up. He listened, forked a bite, and shrugged. She didn't mean any harm, probably just forgot to ask. Cut her some slack. His casual tone stung, like my concerns were minor annoyances in the grand scheme of family harmony. I nodded, but inside something shifted, a quiet resolve building against the constant erosion of my personal boundaries. Things escalated when she invaded my office. I'd stepped out for a quick grocery run to stock up on fresh produce from the market down the street. Came back to find her at my desk, on my computer, video chatting with friends about some influencer gig she dreamed up. My open tabs for client analytics were closed, replaced by her browser history of makeup tutorials. Worse, she'd overwritten one of my key files, a detailed social media strategy for a hotel chain, complete with audience demographics and ad mockups. The document now held her half-baked blog post on beauty trends, pink fonts and all. I stared at the screen, heart sinking as I realized hours of work had vanished without a trace. I tried recovering it from backups, but the autosave had captured her changes instead. That project was due the next day, a potential $4,000 contract that could lead to ongoing work in the tourism sector. Without the file, I scrambled to recreate it from memory, staying up late into the night piecing together spreadsheets and visuals. The client emailed later, disappointed with the rushed submission, and decided to pass. We'll explore other options, they said. I sat there in the dim light of my monitor, the humid air pressing in, wondering how much more of this I could take before it broke my focus entirely. Denise acted like nothing happened. She breezed through the living room the next morning, sipping coffee from my insulated mug, the one with the ergonomic handle I use for long work sessions. Your setup is so comfy, she commented casually, as if borrowing my livelihood was no big deal. I didn't respond, just focused on my remaining tasks. But the invasion lingered, a constant reminder that in this house, nothing felt truly mine anymore. Ronald noticed my quiet mood over dinner, asked if everything was okay. I explained the loss file and its impact. He sighed, leaned back in his chair. Accidents like that occur sometimes. She's young, figuring things out. His words echoed his earlier dismissal, reinforcing the pattern where her mistakes got excused while my losses piled up. As the days blurred in the sticky heat, I started documenting little things: photos of the stained dress, screenshots of the overwritten file, notes on the missing makeup, not out of spite, but as a safeguard against further dismissals. The office incident marked a turning point, where small intrusions compounded into real damage, chipping away at my professional edge in a competitive freelance world. 2 months later, the Florida heat had turned relentless, thick air sticking to everything as summer peaked. Denise had grown even more comfortable, treating the house like an extension of her own life. One afternoon, I came home from a client meeting downtown to find my SUV missing from the driveway. Keys gone from the hook. No note. I checked my phone. Her Instagram story showed her cruising Ocean Drive, windows down, music blasting, caption reading Miami vibes on point. My stomach dropped. That car wasn't just transportation. It held client portfolios in the trunk, printed mock-ups for a resort chain pitch worth potentially $6,000 in recurring work. I called her immediately. She picked up, laughing in the background noise of traffic. I'm just running errands, Patricia. Chill. I'll be back soon. I explained the meeting I had lined up in an hour, how the materials were irreplaceable on short notice. She sighed dramatically. You act like the world stops for you. Borrowed it for a bit. When she returned 2 hours later, the front fender had a fresh dent, paint scraped along the side from what looked like a parking lot mishap. She shrugged it off while handing me the keys. Some idiot backed into me. Not my problem. Ronald arrived home shortly after, saw the damage, and immediately checked on her. You okay? That could have been bad. She nodded sweetly. No mention of the car, no offer to help fix it. The lost meeting stung worse than the repair bill. The client, a boutique hotel group expanding in South Beach, texted later that evening. Unfortunately, we couldn't wait for the full presentation. Moving forward with another agency, I stared at the message in the dim kitchen light, the ceiling fan whirring overhead. That contract would have covered months of bills and given me leverage for bigger projects in the competitive Miami market. Instead, I spent the night researching body shops, estimating $2,000 in fixes, all while Denise lounged on the couch scrolling her phone, oblivious. A few weeks after that, she escalated with the furniture. We'd bought a new outdoor sectional for the backyard, wicker frame, weather-resistant cushions, something nice to enjoy rare quiet evenings. Denise decided it was perfect for hosting friends one Saturday. She invited a group over without asking, turned the space into a casual hangout with drinks and music. By Sunday morning, one cushion had a large tear from someone jumping on it, the frame scratched from dragged coolers, and a red wine spill soaked into another section that wouldn't come out. I discovered the mess when I went out to water plants. The set cost over $1,500, bought with my freelance earnings during a good month. I brought it up at dinner that night. Ronald was tired from a long shift climbing ladders in the humidity. Denise sat across from us, picking at her food. It was just a little party, she said before I even finished. Stuff gets used when people live here. Family property, remember? Ronald looked between us, then back at his plate. Accidents happen in a shared house. We can clean it up. No push for her to contribute. No acknowledgement of the pattern. I felt the weight settle heavier, each incident layering on the last until the house no longer felt like a refuge. I started avoiding the backyard altogether, working longer hours in my office to escape the reminders. But even there, traces lingered, her charger plugged in, my external drive slightly out of place. The cumulative effect wore me down, Not in explosive fights, but in the slow drain of energy and trust. Ronald sensed the tension but chalked it up to stress from work. "You're overthinking small stuff," he said one evening as we cleared the table. I didn't argue. Instead, I kept quiet, letting the frustration build towards something more deliberate. 3 months in, the pattern had solidified by then, each incident feeding the next until the intrusions felt routine. I had started locking my office door when I left the house, but Denise found ways around it, claiming she needed just a quick charge or to check something online. One evening I returned from a networking happy hour in Brickell to an unfamiliar email notification on my phone, a bank alert for a large purchase processed through my linked account. The amount? $3,000. The items? A high-end laptop and enrollment in an advanced online marketing course, shipped to our address. I opened the banking app in the driveway, heart pounding under the streetlight. The transaction showed as authorized, but I hadn't made it. The login had happened from my home IP, during a time when I'd been out. Denise had accessed my computer again, likely through saved passwords or autofill she discovered while using it earlier. The laptop box arrived the next day, sitting on the porch like a trophy. She opened it right there in the living room, grinning as she powered it on. "Finally got what I needed for my side hustle ideas. Thanks for coming through, Patricia." I stood frozen in the doorway. "You used my account without permission." She waved it off, already setting up the device. "Come on, it's not like you're hurting for cash. Family helps family. I'll pay you back when my thing takes off." The casual entitlement hit harder than the money. $3,000 gone in one swipe. Money I'd earned from late nights pitching campaigns. Money earmarked for taxes and equipment upgrades. Ronald walked in minutes later, saw the new laptop, and raised an eyebrow. Denise beamed at him. "Look what I scored. Patricia's got the hookup." He glanced at me, then back at her. "Cool setup. You good with this?" I spoke up clearly. "No, Ronald. She drained my account for this. $3,000. He paused, rubbed his neck. "She said she'd repay. Let's not make it a big fight over family support." His words landed like a dismissal, prioritizing her excitement over the breach. That night, I sat alone in the guest room, my temporary workspace, since the office felt tainted, reviewing statements. The course enrollment was non-refundable, tied to her name but billed to me. I thought about the freelance rhythm in Miami. One canceled client could throw off months. Losing that amount meant dipping into savings, delaying a planned upgrade to my editing software. Denise, meanwhile, spent the evening on the new device, filming herself unboxing for her socials, captioning it "blessed and grateful." The violation felt deeper than financial. It was the assumption that my resources existed for her convenience, that boundaries dissolved under the label of family. I didn't yell or confront again right away. Instead, I started pulling back further, eating meals alone, working from coffee shops when possible, documenting every alert and screenshot. The drain marked the point where small erosions turned into a clear financial hit, forcing me to confront how far the disregard had gone. Ronald tried to smooth things over the next morning over coffee. "She's impulsive, but she means well. Give her time to sort her life." I listened without responding, already mentally mapping next steps. The $3,000 wasn't just money. It was proof that silence had limits, and the cost of inaction was rising fast. The week after the purchase alert changed everything. I couldn't keep pretending the breaches were isolated anymore. The $3,000 hit my account like a recurring charge I never approved, and the realization settled in that waiting for apologies wouldn't fix it. I needed a plan that protected what remained of my work and my peace. I texted Angela first thing the next morning. We'd been friends since college, both navigating freelance life in different cities until she moved to Miami for a graphic design gig. She knew my routines, my frustrations with Ronald's family, and never sugar-coated advice. We met at a quiet cafe near South Beach, away from the house noise, the ocean breeze cutting through the humidity. Over iced lattes, I laid it all out: the makeup, the dress, the car dent, the backyard sectional, the overwritten files, and now the unauthorized charges. Angela listened without interrupting, then leaned forward. "This isn't borrowing anymore. It's misuse, plain and simple. You need evidence, locked accounts, and professional help before it gets worse." Her words clicked something into place. She walked me through basics I'd overlooked in the fog of daily stress. Change every password immediately. Enable two-factor authentication on banking and email. Freeze credit reports to block new lines. Don't confront her yet, she said. Gather proof first: screenshots, emails, photos of damage. Then talk to a lawyer who handles financial disputes. Angela had dealt with a similar situation with an ex-roommate years back. Her calm steps made the path feel doable. That afternoon I acted. Back at the house while Denise was out and Ronald at work, I logged into every account from my phone in the car. I reset passwords, removed saved logins from browsers, and turned off autofill. The office computer got a full wipe of her Access browser history cleared, shared folders locked. I photographed the remaining damage, close-ups of the torn sectional cushions, the car scrape, bank statements highlighting the $3,000 transaction. Every receipt from repairs or lost income went into a dedicated folder on a new encrypted drive. Next, I packed essentials: my laptop, tablet, external hard drives, client files on USBs, anything tied to income. I loaded them into a backpack and duffel, drove to a co-working space in downtown Miami I'd used before for overflow projects. The place had private pods, fast Wi-Fi, and 24-hour access. I paid for a month upfront in cash, set up my station, and felt the first real breath of control in months. No more wondering if someone would tamper with my setup mid-deadline. Angela checked in that evening via call. "How's it feel?" she asked. I told her the space was quiet, no mystery stains or missing chargers. She pushed gently. "Now find that lawyer. Someone local who knows Florida consumer protection laws." I searched online, read reviews, and booked a consultation for the following week with a firm specializing in identity misuse cases. The lawyer's website mentioned debt clauses in civil disputes, language that stuck with me, hinting at ways to enforce repayment without endless family drama. Ronald noticed the shift when he got home. The house felt emptier without my usual evening routine in the office. He asked where I'd been. "Working from a co-working spot for focus," I said simply. He frowned but didn't press. Denise barely registered it, too absorbed in her new laptop. I kept interactions minimal, short greetings, no shared meals while quietly building the case. The moves weren't dramatic, but they were deliberate, carving out space where none had existed before. By the end of the week, my digital life was secured, evidence compiled, and the first lawyer appointment confirmed. The house still stood the same on the outside, but inside, the balance had tipped. I no longer reacted to every slight. I prepared for what came next. A month after I filed the report, the backlash arrived in waves, starting with a call from Ronald's mother the very next afternoon. My phone buzzed while I was in the co-working space reviewing client feedback. I answered on speaker in a quiet corner, expecting something neutral. Instead, her voice came through thick with emotion. "Patricia, how could you do this to Denise? She's just trying to get on her feet. Reporting her over money? You're destroying our family." She paused to catch her breath, then added, "We always treated you like one of us. Now this." I kept my tone even. "She used my account without asking. $3,000 isn't small." She sobbed louder. "She's young. Mistakes happen. You make good money, why not help? The police involvement will ruin her chances forever." I listened without agreeing, then ended the call politely. The conversation left a hollow echo, not from guilt but from the one-sided expectation that I should absorb the loss. Text messages followed from Ronald's uncle, a man I'd met maybe 3 times at holidays. "Heard about the situation. Come on, Patricia. Be reasonable. It's family money in a way. Denise is struggling, step up as the mature one." Another from Ronald's aunt arrived an hour later. "If you're this upset, maybe talk to a counselor instead of lawyers. Holding grudges tears people apart." A cousin in Orlando, someone I barely knew beyond social media likes, messaged, "Didn't think you'd go nuclear over a loan between in-laws. Disappointing." Ronald confronted me directly that evening when I returned home for clothes. He waited in the living room, arms crossed. "My whole family is calling me nonstop. What did you expect? Denise is scared she might lose everything over this." I set my bag down. She chose to take what wasn't hers. Actions have consequences. He raised his voice slightly. "You're making it sound criminal. It's family, people help each other. Withdraw it before it goes further. You're the one with the stable job. Let it go." Denise hovered in the hallway, eyes red but defiant. She didn't speak directly to me, just muttered to Ronald loud enough for me to hear. She always acts superior. Like her money is sacred. Ronald didn't correct her. He just looked at me with disappointment, as if my refusal to back down was the real betrayal. "This is on you now," he said quietly. "You could have handled it privately." The pressure built over the next days, more calls, more texts, each one framing me as the villain tearing apart a close-knit group. Ronald's mother sent a long voice note pleading for mercy, mentioning Denise's anxiety and how court dates would affect her mental health. The uncle followed up with another message suggesting mediation through church. Even distant relatives chimed in, sharing old family photos and group chats with captions implying I was ungrateful. I stopped responding after the first round. The messages piled up unread while I focused on the lawyer's prep work. Angela called to check in, and when I described the flood, she laughed dryly. Classic deflection. They're protecting their own, not seeing the damage done to you. Her support grounded me amid the noise. Ronald tried one last talk before bed. "My family thinks you're cold. They say if you really loved me, you'd drop it for peace." I met his eyes. Peace isn't ignoring theft. It's accountability. He shook his head and walked out. The house felt colder that night, the divide permanent. The constant outreach wore on me, but it also clarified things. No amount of guilt tripping would reverse what happened. I documented the communications too, adding them to the evidence folder. The backlash wasn't random. It was coordinated pressure to make me fold. Instead, it pushed me further toward resolution through the proper channels. The court date arrived 5 weeks after the initial filing. The small claims courtroom in downtown Miami felt stark fluorescent lights, wooden benches, a judge who moved through cases efficiently. I sat alone at the plaintiff's table, folder of evidence in front of me, bank statements, screenshots of the unauthorized transaction, photos of the damaged items, emails from lost clients, and the lawyer's prepared summary. Denise appeared with Ronald and their mother, all three looking tense in the gallery seats. She wore a simple dress, eyes downcast now that the reality had set in. The judge reviewed the documents quickly. When it came to the $3,000 charge, the debt clause in the bank's terms of service was highlighted clear language, stating that any unauthorized use by a third party still held the account holder responsible unless reported promptly, but also allowed for civil recovery if fraud was proven. My lawyer presented the timeline, access logs from my computer showing Denise's login during my absence, the direct shipment to our address, her own social media posts flaunting the laptop. The judge asked Denise if she disputed the facts. She hesitated, then admitted she'd used the account with permission from family. Ronald shifted uncomfortably beside her. The ruling came swiftly. The judge found sufficient evidence of unauthorized use and ordered full restitution, $3,000 plus court fees, payable within 30 days. More importantly, the debt clause triggered a report to credit bureaus. Denise's name linked to the incident as a high-risk borrower. In Florida, that meant 7 years of damaged credit, no new loans, no easy rentals in a tight Miami market, potential barriers to jobs requiring background checks. She wouldn't face criminal charges since it stayed civil, but the financial fallout would linger long after the money was repaid. Ronald looked stunned in the hallway afterward. "This is what you wanted? To cripple her?" I met his gaze steadily. "I wanted accountability. She had choices." His mother pulled him away, whispering urgently. Denise didn't speak to me at all, just walked out with her head down. The divorce followed 2 months later. Florida's no-fault laws made it straightforward. We sold the house, split the equity 50-50 even though most furniture and upgrades came from my income. I took my share and rented a small studio downtown, high up with a view of Biscayne Bay. No backyard parties, no shared office, no mystery charges. Mornings started with coffee from my own mug, work on a setup only I touched. Denise struggled visibly in the aftermath. Credit denials piled up, she couldn't secure an apartment, ended up crashing on friends' couches again. Job applications stalled when employers ran checks. Ronald tried reaching out once. A single text. "We could have fixed this differently." I didn't reply. The line was drawn, and crossing it back wasn't an option. Angela met me for drinks one evening to celebrate the quiet. "You didn't destroy anyone," she said. "You just stopped letting them destroy you." She was right. The real cost wasn't the money or the house. It was the years I'd spent shrinking my own space to accommodate others who never reciprocated. Looking back, the lesson carved itself deep. Boundaries aren't optional in family, no matter how much blood ties people claim. Ignoring small violations invites bigger ones, and waiting for remorse that never comes only prolongs the damage. Speaking up through actions, evidence, and the system when needed preserves self-respect and prevents the slow bleed of trust. I breathe easier now, in a place that's finally mine alone. If you've dealt with family crossing lines like this, drop your thoughts below. Did holding firm cost you relationships, or did it save your peace? Hit subscribe if these stories resonate. More real experiences coming.